One of the big questions is,
what is money?
For practical purposes, it exists in a series of heterogeneous databases, very different databases.
do you believe in crypto?
Digital currency may be an answer. But it is a highly speculative asset.
I do own Bitcoin.
There is no second best.
Welcome to the Crypto Curious podcast. Every Wednesday, we dive into the dynamic world of cryptocurrency. If you're new, we recommend starting with our early episodes where we break down the basics and give you a solid foundation to understand the crypto world. And for the crypto curious, the seasoned addict, or the industry insider, we're here to help you unpack the latest digital news. This week on the show, so much for Uptober. The 6-year trend is over. Also, MetaMask's moment. Is the Mask token about to launch? Also, they're kicking off with a rewards token. My name is Tracy and I'm joined by my co-host Blake. We're bringing you all of this week's latest crypto news. Welcome to the show, Blake.
Thanks, Trace. Great to be back after a week of me being away. But there has been so much going on in the last 2 weeks. It's been actually crazy. Every time I pick up my phone and look at the news, I feel like I have to brace myself.
I know there is so much going on in this space, but it's not really reflected in the price action at the moment, is it? It's hasn't been great. So I think with that, let's jump into our first bit of news. As I mentioned up there, the spooky season lived up to its name this year, and October, which is usually one of Bitcoin's best months, has ended in the red for the first time in 6 years. After all the hype around Uptober, which Blake and I kept talking about, Bitcoin actually closed the month down nearly 4%, putting an end to what's been one of the most consistent winning streaks in crypto, Blake.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Tracy. Historically, October has been a powerhouse. And I think when everyone is expecting something to happen, the opposite happens. Everyone thought that Bitcoin was going up and up only in October. And here we are. I think it was 2.5% down for the month of October. So it just goes to show when you're a trend, everyone's looking at a trend. I think that means it's not going to happen.
Likes to keep us on our toes. But look, the market has continued to bleed out. The first 4 days of November, and in particular the last 24 hours at time of recording, have not been great at all. Do you think this is the mark of the start of a proper cooling off period for Bitcoin and altcoins, or is this just a healthy breather before we see some momentum pick up again?
Well, Trace, I wish I really knew the answer to that question.
I thought you were going to give me a standard crystal ball answer there.
Yeah, but people are hoping for Moonvember. Is that right, Trace?
Okay, that's my first time hearing that one, but I'm all for it. I'm there for it. Moonvember. Okay, I like it.
All right. Well, it couldn't get any worse than October, so it must be going up this
What
week.
actually happened? Why do you think it went that way? What were some of the factors that contributed to having such a crappy month?
I think we had that week of those liquidations. I think, what was it, $27 billion of liquidations? And I think this is what happens when everyone thinks it's going up. Everyone's just betting on derivatives like perpetual futures and options, and then the market does something different. And as a result, as they say, the tail wags the dog. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of movement in the macroverse with the US government shutdown. But good news there is that the Federal Reserve in the US has come out and said that they'll be stopping quantitative tightening and starting quantitative easing, which means there'll be more liquidity and more money available to flow into the crypto markets. But whether this is soon enough, or it might take a little while for this to trickle down into the crypto ecosystem. But yeah, we're really just sitting on the sidelines watching here, Trace.
We need to remember that Bitcoin is still up more than 30% year to date. So it's not all bad. And, Uptober might not have been everything it cracked up to be, but it still doesn't mean that this bull market's over. We've seen plenty of mid-cycle wobbles in the past, but there's plenty of catalysts that may come along to see the end of the year play out well. So we'll see how that goes. Let's move on now, Blake, to our second story. And A heads up to everybody, the wallet wars are just getting a little bit more interesting here. MetaMask has quietly moved into major launch territory with its long-teased native token Mask, and now they've officially kicked off a rewards program all around this Mask token. So keen eyes spotted something earlier this week, and it was a new domain popping up. And also because of this, the prediction markets really spiked all around when the Mask token was going to come out. So the official statement that is coming from the MetaMask team is that it's going to be sooner than expected. But this one will be a pretty major event on the calendar, won't it, Blake?
That's right. There's the opportunity for something really big here with MetaMask having tens of millions of users. And if the token hits their ecosystem, I think that it could gain a lot of velocity and a lot of distribution around the ecosystem. So season one rewards programs are tied to activities in your wallet. So I will be punching through some transactions in my MetaMask wallet.
Yeah, so apparently it's for new people doing new transactions, but also for previous transactions also apparently.
Exactly. So there's a prize pool of 30 million bucks. Is that right, Chris?
Wow, yes, 30 million, which is huge. And this is all tied to the linear token, which will also then tie into the new MetaMask one. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but
it could be the case that the token is issued on the linear layer 2 blockchain built on top of Ethereum.
Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned earlier too, this does count with historical activity also. But yeah, a lot of token speculation there also. What they want you to do though is they obviously want you to get active, update your app and get moving. But I wanted to point out, or at least talk to you about an experience that I had with MetaMask in the last week, which unfortunately was an unpleasant one. And this probably is in the minority, but I played around with the MetaMask bridge functionality last week, and one of my wallets was unfortunately compromised and some of my funds were drained. Now, I don't keep all of my funds in one spot, and that's something that we speak about a lot here on the podcast to make sure that you have things moved so that you're not holding all your crypto in the one spot. So I did move some because I was planning to use that evening and it was drained. And I spoke with Jono, who's a guest we had here on the podcast earlier this year. He's an expert in crypto theft and he wasn't even entirely sure how this happened. It looks like it was a very new and sophisticated exploit that was somehow, as it happened as I interacted with the bridge, Blake, on the MetaMask website.
Yeah, it just goes to show no matter how diligent you are, you have to be so careful of everything that you're doing on chain because there is no customer support. Once an action is made, it's irreversible. So be careful where your funds are. Make sure you're following best practice and maintaining and caring for your wallets.
Absolutely there. So it can happen to anyone, no matter how careful you're being. So there you go. But also, like Blake said, this is big news with MetaMask for holders, for people using it at the moment, and whether this Mask token becomes a next big drop or just another headline depends on exactly how they execute this. We've seen some big names do some big drops recently that have just kind of fallen flat, but MetaMask are a big brand, so we're hoping that they do right by everyone on this one, so well worth keeping an eye on there. Okay, up next, Aus Crypto Con is back for 2026. Aus Crypto Con brings together thousands of crypto lovers, builders, and also industry leaders for 2 massive days of panels, workshops. There's loads of epic networking, and you also hear from some of the biggest names in Web3 locally and also from overseas. You can meet the teams behind some of your favorite projects as well and really get the feel for what's going on in the industry, Blake.
That's exactly right. This is my favorite conference here in Australia. We get the best speakers, the best workshops, and all of the great Australian companies coming and telling you about what they're working on. So I can't wait to go, Trace. I'll be tagging along to this one and hopefully we'll see some of you there.
Yep. And if you would like to get a discount on your tickets, we are offering a code, which is Crypto Curious at the checkout, which will get you a pass. So if you would like to go to auscrypto.com and grab your tickets to join the action, you can do that. We'll get some details in the show notes below so you can use that code. And with that, folks, I think we'll take a break. And when we get back, our short, sharp news bites. Welcome back, folks. You're listening to the Crypto Curious podcast. Time now for a short, sharp news bites brought to you by the Bamboo app for all your dollar cost averaging needs. Okay, I think I will go first, Blake. This one is a relatively fresh story. This is the Balancer, the DeFi. These guys are heavy hitters in the DeFi space, and they just were exploited for a rather large amount, 128 million across multiple chains. And this struck their V2 vaults, and everyone's having a small panic about this one.
Was this your wallet, Trace?
This is my wallet, folks. But yes, so what does this mean for the industry? I mentioned to Blake earlier that maybe 128 million wasn't big these days, but what does this mean for the industry?
Yeah. I think this just really shows to diversify your holdings across different DeFi apps and exchanges and protocols, because these are susceptible to being hacked. I would say Balancer have their own insurance fund. Many of these DeFi platforms, a percentage of all their fees goes into a savings fund. So if something like this does happen, they have enough to repay affected people. So yeah, you just got to be so careful out there, ladies and gents. Be careful. All right, Kathy Wood, a famous investment manager from ARK Invests. She has a bunch of innovation-focused investment funds that you can invest in on the NASDAQ stock exchange, and she has now invested over $2.1 billion in her funds into the crypto industry. She's added $5 million of shares of Bullish, which is a cryptocurrency and equities trading exchange, and she's taking crypto allocations to nearly 30% in some of her innovation ETFs. Now, we love Kathy. Every time I watch her, I'm inspired and I want to invest more money in crypto.
She's doing something right then. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the digital euro will be taking off very soon. This European Central Banks, the ECB, announced it's moving its digital euro project into the next phase, targeting a full rollout by 2029, which seems far away. And that is if legislation passes in time. A pilot could start as early as mid-2027. So this could be one of the first groups that do actually roll out their CBDCs, isn't it? I think the one in Japan didn't take off. Do you know anywhere else that's actually rolled it out, Blake?
There's been some small island nations, like offshore areas, that have done it, but this is obviously massive if the European Central Bank is issuing it.
Okay, interesting.
I might just mention that the European Union is quite different to other jurisdictions because it's a collection of countries. So I think the dynamics at play here are quite different than, a particular individual government doing it. I think there's potentially more incentive for the European Central Bank to consolidate control over a CBDC or a central bank digital currency than it would be in other regions because of the nature of the euro.
That's a good point.
MEXC messed up in the past week. So MEXC froze $3 million in an account belonging to a crypto influencer, the White Whale, back in July. And they've copped a lot of slack about this one. And it turns out they have made a mistake. And the White Whale that you can find on Twitter or X has now been put in the clear and received their funds back. So great to see that. But these things can happen. I've heard so many stories of people having accounts on all the exchanges that we know and love, it being frozen. And this can be incredibly frustrating for users, particularly in those moments in time when there's a lot of market volatility.
This is actually a bit of a puff piece, I think, for MEXC, because this guy made it his mission since July to go on and on to talk to anybody that he possibly could about what happened here, to the point where they had to take notice and had to kind of reverse their decision. So, yep, there you go. I'm glad that he got his cash back.
I might just mention as well, Tracy, that I've heard of situations where people sign up in KYC to an international exchange, deposit large amounts of money, and then it flags something where their KYC needs to be bolstered. And then because it's triggered some red flags, and then the users that have signed up for these exchanges have not been able to get their money back. And obviously very concerning in this situation, because it can come off as predatory, because if you can't meet KYC or your ID requirements with an international firm, then it can be very, very challenging to get your funds back unless you take them to arbitration or court in their chosen jurisdiction. So yeah, be careful there, particularly when using international exchanges and for the first time.
Lots of good advice in this episode about keeping safe, folks. All right, what's up next? We've got Tether, the world's largest stablecoin issuer, just received a whopping $10 billion profit for the first 9 months of 2025. Now that, folks, is bigger profit than the banks. That means they've out-earned Bank of America and nearly doubled the US bank's profit in the same period, which is phenomenal. They're even closing in on Wall Street giants like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, who each pulled in around $12.5 billion, which is not bad for a private crypto company now based in El Salvador. So in Q3 alone, Tether issued another 17 billion USDT, taking its total supply past 184 billion. So there you go, stablecoins.
Word on the street as well, Trace, they're raising $20 billion at a $500 billion valuation. Can't wait to see if they get this. Such a flex, and good on the guys over at Tether. All right, next up, Truth Social, which is the Trump family associated social media company, is looking to enter the prediction market space in partnership with Crypto.com, which is a major international exchange and trading app. And the product is called Truth Predict. So we've seen the rise of poly market over the past year or so, and obviously the Trump media organization wants in on the action.
Part of it, yeah.
And I think, yeah, this is an interesting one.
It's an interesting partnership. I mean, Crypto.com, relatively well known, and okay, they want it on everything, Trump, don't they? So we'll see how that one goes. Okay, there you go. Look, plenty of news as per usual, and no doubt there'll be plenty of news again next week. Next week, folks, Blake and I will be speaking with Kyle, or Dax as he's known. He was on with us last year, and he is a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really excited to chat with him about where the market sits right now. So join myself, Blake, and Dax, or Kyle, whichever one you want to call him, next week on the show. Until then, stay curious, stay connected. Let's hope for some greener markets next week. You can do this by joining the Crypto Curious Facebook group or our Instagram page. Hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to us right now. And if you're looking to dollar cost average into the crypto market, take a look at the Bamboo app. Don't forget to use the code CURIOUS for $10 of free Bitcoin to get you started. There's a link in the show notes below. We'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.